Rome was probably the greatest empire ever seen, with 1/5 of the world population under its control for centuries, although the British Empire had more people and a greater area. At its height, the Roman Empire stretched unbroken from the Atlantic to the Black Sea, from Scotland to the Sahara. Rome was chosen as a city because of its position with defendable hills on a river near the Mediterranean Sea. How many hills make up central Rome? What is Rome's river called? Rome was supposedly founded in 753 BC by Romulus, who slew his twin brother named after a famous dog. Who was the slain twin? Myth said the twins had been abandoned at birth but survived miraculously. How? Originally, Rome was ruled by kings before it became a republic. Who was the last king deposed in 509? Julius Caesar was a great general and politician who conquered Gaul for Rome and first subdued the tribes of Britain. What famous phrase did he say when he conquered Britain? People were jealous of Caesar's power. He responded by taking his army from Gaul into Roman lands, which was forbidden to a general. He crossed a river to do so. Not very big, as you can see from this, but it's gone down in language as a critical decision. What was the river? When Caesar defeated his rival Pompey and became dictator, his enemies plotted to kill him. This they did at a Senate meeting here. What was the Roman day in BC 44? And who were the two main leaders of the assassins? Caesar's great-nephew and adopted son defeated Mark Antony in the civil war that followed to become the first emperor, taking the name Augustus. What was his original name? What was the great battle that decided the civil war? Augustus was the first, longest reigning and probably greatest emperor in all Roman history. How many years did he reign for? Under Augustus, Rome became a great city with fine buildings, especially in the Roman Forum. He is one of many triumphal arches erected to him, which we came across in Rimini. He also built great roads all over the empire, like this, the Appian Way. The Emperor's palace was behind the great Circus Maximus, which could seat 150,000 people, although only one athlete is there today. What was the main event that took place here? Someone even more famous than Augustus was born during his reign. Where was he born? Augustus's wife wanted her son to succeed him and supposedly poisoned several other possible successors. What was her name? She may even have poisoned Augustus himself. Her son did become emperor after Augustus died, but soon went to live on the island of Capri. What was his name, and what did he have done to those who visited him on Capri who displeased him? Caligula was the next emperor. He was crazy, even nominating a horse to be consul. He was eventually assassinated by his guards. What does the name Caligula mean? The guards installed Caligula's uncle Claudius as his successor. He suffered from two physical problems which really made him unsuitable to be emperor. Name one of these problems. Claudius's wife poisoned him so her son Nero could become emperor. He was a nutter too. There was a great fire in Rome in 64 AD, which many suspect Nero started to clear out old houses so he could build a great palace. What was Nero supposed to have done while Rome burnt? Nero began the persecution of Christians, and his troops put down a revolt in Britain by the East Anglian Iceni tribe. They were led by a queen. What was her name? Once more, Nero was deposed by the guards, and it was chaos with 4 rival emperors in a year until General Vespasian seized the throne for the Flavian dynasty. The Romans loved games, and amphitheatres were built all over the empire. We visited these two in France. Vespasian started to build a huge Flavian amphitheatre in Rome, where, amongst other things, Christians could be thrown to wild animals. What is this amphitheatre more commonly known as? In 79 AD, a huge volcano engulfed the Bay of Naples, swallowing up several towns. The largest was Pompeii. What was the volcano called? Here are casts of bodies caught up in the eruption. Visiting Pompeii, you get an idea of how sophisticated Roman city life was. With a large forum, wide streets, lots of shops, and fine houses called villas. The houses were beautifully decorated with mosaics and wall paintings. What is it called when artists paint onto wet plaster like this? The Romans loved public baths, but where's this one? They needed lots of water, so built aqueducts to carry in water from many miles away in the mountains. Here's an aqueduct in Segovia, Spain, but this one in France is even more famous. What's it called? Back in Pompeii, Nanny Nana is sitting in an essential public building. What is it? Trajan ruled at the end of the 1st century, and under him Rome reached its greatest extent with the conquest of Dacia on the Danube. What's Dacia called now? Trajan had a famous column erected to himself with superb carvings of his victories, which show us how soldiers looked then. Hadrian followed Trajan as emperor. He's famous for the wall he built. What was the purpose of this wall? Hadrian also built this famous temple in Rome, which has influenced many buildings since. What was it called? Constantine moved his capital to Byzantium. Then in 395, the empire was divided into western and eastern halves. In the next century, the Western Empire was subject to constant attacks from across the Rhine and Danube by various Germanic tribes. The Goths, pictured here, attacked the legions in the late 300s, and Rome was finally sacked in 410 by which tribe? Britannia was abandoned, Vandals invaded Rome, and Rome went to rack and ruin. It lay in ruins for centuries until medieval popes started raising money to rebuild it as a splendid city. This is the great church of St. Peter's with the tallest dome in the world. What's the Pope's palace behind it called? In the palace, artists painted great rooms, the most famous being the Sistine Chapel. Who painted that? The present Pope is Pope Francis, but what was his real name before? Where was he born? These brightly dressed people are the guards who guard the Pope. What is their name? Here's a famous 18th century fountain in Rome. What's it called? Here's one for the girls. This is a famous Roman pasta dish. What is it called? And one for the boys. We all know about AS Roma, but there's another top-class football club in Rome. What is it called?